Lily's dream of the Sunbeam Palace. Brightville offered little charm. A canvas of faded hues and lanes perfumed with the lingering scent of the fishmonger's trade. A smell that clung even when the market was closed. Yet, perched atop a gentle hill overlooking the harbor, stood the Sunbeam Palace, a beacon against the mundane. Its alabaster facade, laced with delicate gold tracery, captured the sunlight, splintering it into a shower of glittering sparks. Lily Bloom, presently wrestling with a stubborn stain in Mrs. Higgins' bakery lavatory, glimpsed it through the window's grimy surface, an emblem of unattainable grandeur. Lily, less stargazing, more elbow grease. Mrs. Higgins' voice, as brittle as shattered glass, snapped her back to the present. "Yes, ma'am," Lily murmured, renewing her assault on the porcelain. The work wasn't unbearable. It was honest labor, providing a modest sum for her family's survival. Besides, even amidst the grime, she could still escape into reverie. She envisioned gleaming floors of polished stone instead of the cracked linoleum beneath her feet, radiant chandeliers in place of the naked bulbs overhead. She dreamed of the Sunbeam Palace. The palace, as everyone knew, belonged to the enigmatic Mr. Silas Blackwood, a figure wreathed in conjecture and hushed tales. Some whispered of his solitary existence, others of his ruthless business acumen, while still others spoke of a secret vault overflowing with riches. None of that mattered to Lily. She simply recognized the palace as beauty incarnate, a haven where aspirations took flight. Her family formed her entire world. Pa, a fisherman whose hands bore the map of a life at sea and whose heart swelled with generosity. Ma, a magician who could conjure sustenance from scarcity. And little Finn, whose laughter served as a sunbeam on even the cloudiest days. Their lives unfolded in a cramped cottage on Brightville's fringe, its roof constantly threatening to yield to the elements. Possessions were few, but their bonds were strong, fortified by integrity, empathy, and an unwavering faith in dedication. Later that evening, during a supper of simple stew illuminated by the wavering lamplight, Lily found herself drawn to the topic. "I saw the Sunbeam Palace today, Ma." It seemed otherworldly. Her mother smiled, crow's feet deepening around her eyes. "A fine sight indeed, Lilybug, but such a world is not meant for us." Pa, ever the optimist, rumbled with laughter. "Pay her no mind, Lily girl. Dreams cost nothing, do they? No harm in aiming high." He winked. "Just don't let it hinder your scrubbing." Finn, cheeks bulging with stew, interjected, "Maybe you'll marry Mr. Blackwood, Lily, then we can all move in." Lily blushed, playfully nudging Finn's arm. "Don't be absurd, Finn. I'd like to work there one day, perhaps even run the place." Her parents exchanged glances, a silent language passing between them. Lily understood their unspoken reservations, unattainable, preposterous. But they kept the words unspoken, respecting the delicate nature of her aspirations. Later, curled in her narrow bed, listening to the cottage sigh and groan in the night wind, Lily gazed at the ceiling. The Sunbeam Palace. It was more than just a flight of fancy. It was a gauntlet thrown, a challenge accepted. And Lily Bloom, even as a tremor of doubt touched her, knew one thing. She would not surrender easily. She'd begin as a humble employee, ascend the ranks, absorb every detail. Because even if ridicule met her ambition, she harbored an unshakable conviction that she could achieve it. The Sunbeam Palace would be hers. Laughter and lessons. The after-hours atmosphere in Mrs. Higgins' bakery was a stark contrast to its daytime cheer. The usual happy clamor of customers and the steady thump of kneading dough had given way to the raucous banter of the Sunbeam Palace night crew, come for their nightly haul of day-old pastries. Lily attacked a stubborn smear of caramelized sugar, her face aflame under their jocular scrutiny. "So, Lilypad, heard you're aiming for the Sunbeam?" Albert, a barrel-chested man in a crisp uniform, boomed, a fine mist accompanying his words. "Gonna polish the throne room too? They say the fixtures are solid gold." A wave of guffaws washed over the room. Lily forced a grin, scrubbing with renewed vigor. Someone's got to keep the royal tush comfortable, she quipped, her voice surprisingly steady. Clara, a slender woman with a knowing smirk, chimed in. Maybe you can sweet-talk Mr. Davenport into a complimentary suite. Tell him you're his biggest admirer. The teasing pricked, yet Lily refused to show it. She'd anticipated this brand of cynicism. Dreams, especially big ones, often drew ridicule. Instead, she doubled down on her task, obsessively sanitizing each surface, all the while listening intently. While Albert and Clara continued their light-hearted jabs, others, less interested in Lily's aspirations, chatted about the hotel's underbelly. Dwindling supplies in the linen closet, a plumbing emergency on the 5th floor, the frenzied planning for the approaching gala. Lily absorbed it all, squirreling away each tidbit like a precious resource. The labor was relentless. The linoleum clung to her shoes, the ovens reeked of burnt offerings, and the ghost of scorched sugar permeated her very being. Her muscles protested with every movement, her lower back a dull ache. Yet, with each spotless sweep, with each gleaming chrome surface, a wave of resolve washed over her. She wasn't merely cleaning. She was apprenticing. She was laying the groundwork, one pristine space at a time. As the Sunbeam crew finally lumbered out, their laughter echoing behind them, Mrs. Higgins squeezed Lily's shoulder, a mix of empathy and respect in her gaze. Don't let their noise get to you, dear. They're just enthusiastic. You have a kind spirit, Lily. That's more valuable than any gilded commode. Lily offered a genuine smile this time. Thanks, Mrs. Higgins. Later, alone in the hushed bakery, enveloped by the comforting aromas of flour and rising yeast, Lily continued her work. She pictured herself not confined within these humble walls, but within the opulent Sunbeam Palace. Not scrubbing toilets, but orchestrating the entire operation, privy to every nuance, every secret, every vulnerability. The taunts of the departing staff lingered in her mind, but they no longer held venom. Instead, they became a potent catalyst. Let them mock now, she thought. She would be the one smiling last. Mr. Thompson's kindness. The scent of sugared almonds and burnt caramel hung heavy in the air, almost choking Lily. She scrubbed furiously at a stubborn patch of dried dough clinging to the counter, her knuckles white against the worn wood. Mrs. Higgins, a woman whose smile lines seemed permanently etched in disapproval, was out front, her voice a sharp chime as she haggled with customers over the price of day-old croissants. A shadow fell across Lily's work. She looked up, startled, and found a man standing there, his presence a stark contrast to the bakery's chaotic energy. He was tall, with kind eyes crinkled at the corners and a neatly trimmed gray beard. A perfectly pressed suit spoke of a world far removed from flour-dusted aprons and endless scrubbing. "You're working very hard," he observed, his voice a low rumble. Lily, flustered, stopped scrubbing. "Just trying to keep up, sir." "Thompson," he offered, extending a hand. "Arthur Thompson. And you are?" "Lily Bloom." She hesitated, then wiped her hand on her apron before shaking his. His grip was firm, reassuring. "I own the Sunbeam Palace," he said, a hint of pride in his voice. "I come in here for Mrs. Higgins. Unique pastries." He winced slightly. "But I couldn't help but notice your dedication. It's refreshing." Lily's heart skipped a beat. The Sunbeam Palace. She swallowed, trying to appear nonchalant. "It's just a job, Mr. Thompson." He chuckled. "Everything is just a job until it isn't. Tell me, Lily, what do you dream of doing?" She hesitated, then blurted out, "Running a hotel, like yours." He smiled, a genuine warm smile that reached his eyes. "Well then," he said, pulling up a stool, "perhaps I can share a few secrets. Did you know the Sunbeam Palace almost went bankrupt in '78? A rogue shipment of flamingos." He launched into a story about unexpected deliveries, eccentric guests, and the delicate art of managing a disgruntled chef. Over the next few weeks, Mr. Thompson became a regular fixture in the bakery's back room. While Mrs. Higgins barked orders, he would patiently explain the nuances of hospitality, the importance of anticipating needs, and the surprisingly cutthroat world of linen suppliers. He spoke of balancing budgets, negotiating contracts, and the vital role of every single employee, from the bellhop to the housekeeper. Lily listened, absorbing every word, her dreams of the Sunbeam Palace feeling a little less distant, a little more real. The smell of burnt sugar still permeated the air, but now it was laced with the scent of hope. The announcement, the staff room, usually buzzing with the clatter of cutlery and snippets of gossip, was unusually still. Mr. Thompson stood before them, his usually jovial face etched with a weariness that mirrored the Sunbeam Palace's faded grandeur. He cleared his throat, the sound amplified in the silence. "I have an announcement to make." Lily, perched on the edge of a worn armchair, gripped her chipped teacup. The air hung thick with anticipation, smelling faintly of Mrs. Peterson's lavender perfume and the lingering aroma of breakfast sausages. "After 40 years, Mr. Thompson continued, his voice wavering slightly, "I've decided to retire. My bones aren't what they used to be, and it's time to pass the torch." A murmur rippled through the room. 40 years. Lily had only been alive for 23. She'd spent countless hours scrubbing Mrs. Higgins' stubborn dough trays, dreaming of one day owning a place like the Sunbeam Palace, a place steeped in history and faded elegance. "The hotel," Mr. Thompson paused, his gaze sweeping over the anxious faces, "will be put up for sale." The words hit Lily like a physical blow. Her breath hitched. Sell? Someone else would own it? Someone who might tear down its character, replace the antique furniture with soulless modern designs? The image of a sleek, glass tower rising from the ashes of the Sunbeam Palace flashed through her mind, sending a shiver down her spine. The staff began to chatter amongst themselves, a cacophony of worried whispers. Job security, pension plans, severance packages, the anxieties were palpable. Lily, however, heard none of it. Her ears rang with the finality of Mr. Thompson's words. That evening, as she scrubbed the burnt caramel off a baking sheet, the metallic tang of the cleaning solution filled her nostrils. The weight of her impossible dream pressed down on her. The Sunbeam Palace, the beacon that had guided her through countless hours of thankless work, was slipping away. The thought felt like a fist clenching around her heart. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring the already smudged reflection in the stainless steel. It was hopeless. She was just Lily Bloom, a cleaner in a bakery. How could she ever compete with wealthy investors, with hotel chains eager to snap up prime real estate? The dream, once so vibrant and within reach, now seemed like a cruel joke. The arrival of Mr. Grumbles. The aroma of cinnamon and yeast did little to soothe Lily's nerves. Even the warmth radiating from Mrs. Higgins' oven couldn't thaw the chill that had settled over the bakery since the black car had rumbled into town. She scrubbed harder at a stubborn patch of dough on the counter, each swipe a frustrated prayer. He emerged from the Sunbeam Palace like a disgruntled badger from its set. Mr. Grumbles, his suit, the color of a rain cloud, looked as though it had been tailored by a particularly stern geometry teacher. He adjusted his spectacles, perched precariously on his nose, and surveyed the town with an expression that suggested he'd just stepped in something unpleasant. "Inefficient," he declared to the mayor, his voice a dry rasp that carried on the wind. "Utterly inefficient." The mayor, a man whose jovial spirit usually filled the town square, looked deflated, his shoulders slumped. "But Mr. Grumbles," he stammered, "the Sunbeam Palace is a landmark, a source of pride." Mr. Grumbles merely sniffed. "Pride doesn't pay dividends, Mayor. My firm has acquired the property. We intend to convert it into office spaces, modernize, maximize profitability." Lily's scrubbing slowed. Office spaces? The Sunbeam Palace, with its whimsical balconies and stained glass windows, transformed into a sterile box filled with spreadsheets and fluorescent lighting? The thought was a punch to the gut. News spread through the town like wildfire. Mrs. Higgins stopped kneading dough, her usually rosy cheeks paling. Old man Fitzwilliam, who told stories of dancing with his late wife in the Sunbeam's ballroom, sat on a bench, his head in his hands. Even the stray cats seemed to sense the gloom, huddling together for warmth. That evening, the town meeting was packed. Murmurs of disbelief and anger rippled through the crowd. "He can't just do that," someone shouted. "It's progress," Mr. Grumbles countered, his voice dripping with condescension. "You can't cling to the past forever." Lily, standing at the back, felt a surge of defiance. Progress? This wasn't progress. It was vandalism, a theft of joy. She looked around at the faces of her neighbors, their worry etched deep, their dreams threatened. And in that moment, something solidified within her. She wouldn't let this happen. The Sunbeam Palace was more than just a building. It was the heart of their town. And she, Lily Bloom, was going to fight for it. Lily's courage. The rhythmic thump of Mrs. Higgins' rolling pin softened to a muted hum as Mr. Thompson's pronouncements echoed in Lily's memory. Potential, Miss Bloom, is a dormant seed. Cultivate it, shield it, and witness its glorious unfolding. Lily attacked the countertop, erasing swirls of flour, the vision of the Sunbeam Palace blazing in her thoughts. A magnificent unfolding, indeed. She recalled his surprisingly astute lectures on finance, delivered in that cramped room above the bakery. Compound interest, resource leverage, the art of finding avenues where others saw dead ends. Back then, the palace seemed an impossible dream, a fanciful notion. Now, a flicker of possibility ignited within her. Released from her duties by Mrs. Higgins' grumbling dismissal, something about prepping for afternoon customers, Lily escaped to her cramped attic room. Though redolent with the scent of baking, tonight, a sweeter fragrance permeated the air. Hope. Beneath her worn mattress, swaddled in her grandmother's silken scarf, lay her hard-won treasure. With hesitant fingers, she revealed the contents. Coins gleamed, and bills crinkled in the meager light. Each piece represented sacrifices. Grueling hours, tolerating Mrs. Higgins' barbs, denying herself small joys. She tallied the sum, her breath catching in her throat. A surprisingly respectable amount. Not enough, nowhere near enough to purchase the Sunbeam Palace outright. But perhaps, just perhaps, a fragile notion, like the beat of a hummingbird's wings, lifted her spirits. Mr. Thompson. He possessed influence, understood the intricacies of business. He might know an avenue, a legal maneuver, a possibility she had overlooked. The thought of rejection pricked her resolve, yet the radiant image of the Sunbeam Palace beckoned. She would confront her apprehension, summon her courage, and present her earnings to him. A desperate Hail Mary, a precarious wager. But Lily Bloom stood with nothing to forfeit, and a kingdom to gain. Tomorrow she would seek him out, a chance and a challenge. Lily smoothed the worn fabric of her skirt, the silence in Mr. Thompson's office thick enough to choke on. Sunlight slanted through the blinds, striping the room in harsh lines that seemed to emphasize the dust motes dancing in the air. She swallowed, the small leather pouch clutched tightly in her hand feeling heavier than it should. "Mr. Thompson," she began, her voice trembling only slightly. "I know it's not much, but—" She opened the pouch, tilting it to reveal the meager pile of coins and carefully folded bills. The glint of copper and silver seemed pathetic under the opulent gaze of the room. "This is everything I have, everything I've saved. I want to put in a bid for the Sunbeam Palace." Thompson's expression was unreadable. He leaned back in his plush leather chair, the springs groaning softly under his weight. He studied her for a long moment, his eyes the color of faded denim, assessing. Finally, a slow smile spread across his face, crinkling the corners of his eyes. "Lily," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "I've watched you these past few years. You've got grit, girl. More than most folks I know. This isn't enough to even paint the front doors of that place." He gestured to the paltry sum on his desk. "But I see something in you, a fire. And frankly, the offers I've received so far haven't exactly been inspired." He paused, tapping a pen against his desk. "Here's what I'm going to do. I'll give you a chance. A real chance. I'll set the bar. Anyone who wants to bid has to beat it, but you won't have to put up a deposit to get started. If you can secure financing, convince someone to invest, you're in the game. A gasp escaped Lily's lips. Really, Mr. Thompson? You'd do that for me? Just then, the door swung open, revealing Mr. Grumbles, his face florid. A smug grin plastered across his lips. He carried a briefcase that looked heavy enough to contain bricks of gold. Thompson, old boy, just dropping by to finalize the deal. Heard some interesting rumors about the competition. He cast a dismissive glance at Lily. A bit of charity, perhaps? Amusing, but ultimately irrelevant. He chuckled, a dry, rasping sound. Don't worry your pretty little head, dear. Leave the grown-up business to the grown-ups. I'll be sipping cocktails on the veranda of the Sunbeam Palace before you can say, window cleaner. His eyes darted to the small pile of Lily's money. Good luck buying a broom closet with that, my dear. Lily ignored him, her eyes locked on Mr. Thompson. The challenge had been issued, and she was ready to accept. The town's support, the aroma of Mrs. Abernathy's apple pie hung heavy in the air at the town meeting, but no one seemed to notice. Lily, standing before them, her voice trembling only slightly, had just finished explaining Mr. Grumble's audacious offer for the Sunbeam Palace. A hush fell over the crowd, thicker than the pie's cinnamon scent. Then Old Man Hemlock, known for his penny-pinching ways, cleared his throat. He shuffled forward, his worn leather wallet clutched in his hand. Lily girl, he rasped, his voice surprisingly strong. You remind me of my Elsie. Grit and determination. Here. He pressed a wad of bills into her hand. It ain't much, but it's all I got saved for my winter cough syrup. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Then Mrs. Abernathy, her face flushed, stepped forward, pushing a chipped porcelain jar towards Lily. My cookie jar fund. This is for a new oven, but the Sunbeam needs you more. Coins clinked softly as Lily took the jar, its weight a tangible symbol of the town's belief. One by one they came. The butcher, Mr. Peterson, emptied his apron pocket of crumpled notes. The baker, his hands still dusted with flour, contributed his busking money from the weekend. Even the quiet librarian, Miss Peabody, pressed a crisp bill into Lily's hand, her eyes shining behind her spectacles. For the reading room, she whispered. The donations weren't huge, but they were heartfelt. Each coin, each bill, represented sacrifice, a shared dream blooming in the face of Grumble's looming shadow. Lily's small table overflowed. Later that evening, surrounded by stacks of bills and overflowing jars of coins, Lily felt a surge of something akin to power. Mr. Thompson, his eyes crinkled with kindness, helped her meticulously count every penny. The lamplight danced on the piles of money, transforming the humble community hall into a temporary bank vault of hope. Finally, as the first rays of dawn kissed the horizon, Mr. Thompson tallied the last coin. He looked up, his gaze meeting Lily's. Lily, he announced, his voice thick with emotion. With what you had, and with the town's incredible generosity, you matched him. You matched Mr. Grumble's offer. Lily stared, her breath caught in her throat. The exhaustion of the past few days, the anxiety, the sheer audacity of her dream, crashed down in a wave of relief. She had done it. They had done it. The Sunbeam Palace, for now, was still within reach. The Sunbeam Palace shines again. A stillness blanketed Brightville as Mr. Thompson, the hotel's custodian, took the stage erected in the square. Expectation hung heavy, a palpable tension humming through the crowd. Near the back, Lily felt her pulse thrum a frantic tattoo against her ribs, wishing she could simply dissolve into the gathering. She'd come to mourn a lost dream, not to realize it. Friends, neighbors. Mr. Thompson's voice resonated, magnified by the vintage microphone. The fate of the Sunbeam Palace is sealed. After thorough evaluation of all proposals, I am delighted to announce the new proprietor. He paused, a dramatic beat. Lily steeled herself, the tang of disappointment already on her tongue. Miss Lily Bloom. A collective intake of breath swept through the crowd. Lily stood rooted, convinced her ears deceived her. With a generous smile, Mr. Thompson pointed in her direction. Lily's vision, her commitment to our town, and frankly, her brilliant business acumen, swayed us completely. Congratulations, Lily! The gasp erupted into jubilant applause. Faces, alight with delighted surprise, turned her way. Friends surged forward, enveloping her in an exuberant embrace. Even Mrs. Gable, normally a study in disapproval, offered a subtle, almost invisible nod of acknowledgement. Speechless with joy, Lily stumbled forward, her voice a mere whisper. I don't know what to say," she finally choked out. Thank you. Thank you all so much." The ensuing weeks blurred into a frenzy of activity. Lily poured her soul into the Sunbeam Palace. Eschewing a wholesale renovation, as some had suggested, she instead chose to rejuvenate its inherent beauty. Faded floral patterns gave way to bright, sun-kissed designs. The aged floorboards were buffed until they shone with warmth. In place of the worn furnishings, she introduced comfortable, welcoming pieces, largely sourced from local craftspeople. The stuffy atmosphere that had long lingered was replaced by the clean fragrance of lavender and lemon. The grand reopening was nothing short of spectacular. Strands of twinkling lights cast a golden spell on the palace, beckoning all to enter. The townspeople arrived in droves, eager to witness Lily's transformation. The once barren dining room now throbbed with vivacious chatter and joyous reunions. The delightful scent of fresh-baked goods and Lily's signature lemon tarts permeated the air. More than just a hotel, the Sunbeam Palace became a symbol of renewed hope for Brightville. It stood as a testament to Lily's indomitable spirit, a beacon of what could be accomplished through grit, compassion, and a spark of ingenuity. The joyous sounds echoing within its walls were richer, the smiles brighter. The Sunbeam Palace radiated with new life, not just from paint and polish, but from the pure, unadulterated warmth of Lily's spirit. Brightville was alive again,